Ladies and gentlemen, in the parliamentary debate that just happened, we have got two PAP MPs that spoke up against the way the new special account policy is being implemented. On top of that, we have got also some opposition party MPs that spoke up against it, but we'll leave that aside for now. In a parliamentary debate that just happened, MP Fumiha actually told the parliament that it is more fairer to allow those people that are 55 years old and above to grandfather the system, that your special account can continue, and for the new policy to only take place for those who are younger than 55 years old. And I think that's a very fair system. Those above 55 years old has no time to adjust, and they spend a whole lifetime planning for this to happen. And this new policy actually affect them and their retirement planning very badly. So I think this is a good voice in the parliament to support this new change. On top of that, we do have another MP that spoke in support of some adjustments to this as well. On top of this, we got PAP MP Yip Hong Wen, who also say a similar thing. And he noted that his residents, are very concerned about the special account closure. Years, I quote him, years of financial planning based on SA higher interest are now disrupted, leaving them with limited time to adjust. So this is a very interesting context where basically people have spent a long period of time to plan for this, and you just suddenly hit them with very little time. Just in that sense, it's too painful a blow. The limited withdrawal option from RA raised the concern of assessing emergency funds needed, unlike the SA, which has got more flexibility. I quote MP Yip Hong Wing. He basically asked the government to explore ways to minimize the impact of the SA closure, and I think this is really a very good point that's raised. This policy is now recognized to hit quite a lot of the middle income earners. As I said before, the rich, no worries about them. They know what to do, right? And in that sense, the CPF poor also don't have much impact. But the middle income, I've got no way to know how big this middle income is. But middle income generally is a large segment of our population, and this hit them pretty hard as well. So I'm glad that two MPs actually spoke up. We've also got opposition party that spoke against this thing, and you can read for yourself in the media. What we would like to do is to further add on to some of these suggestions, to offer more suggestions to the CPF board on how we can further fine-tune this policy. So before anybody jumps at my suggestion, please hear me out. These suggestions are very constructive suggestions, and we'd like to add on to these suggestions with the following ideas to help improve on this new policy change. Number one is that we should do a public consultation on this policy. Let the public and private sector come in, right? To give their ideas on how this thing can be improved. Who get affected, who don't get affected, who like to see this thing affected, who like to see less of this thing affected. I think it's very important that we get this public consultation right. And the public sector private consultation is important to see what they can do to improve on it. This now leads me to talk about the second part, which is what I call a PPP, a public-private sector partnership. This is where the government can invite through a tender or through a consultation of some form a list of panel private sector providers that can come in to provide products that can help to replace the closure of the SA. Right, through competition, we will be able to pull up some of the returns and minimize some of the risks as well. This is something like what we are familiar with SAF. SAF pull in a few companies to tender for their shoes that you can sell. I think right now we have got ASIS and New Balance. They are able to provide very good running shoes at very affordable prices, right? So this is not new to the government, and I think this kind of PPP will help tremendously to minimize the impact of the new changes. It's also important to take note that a lot of people are negatively impacted because of a perceived wrong information or lack of information. The CPF policies by itself is already very confusing, and I've talked about that, right? What is FRS? What is BRS? What is what is special account, what is retirement account, what are the three CPF life policy. All these cause a lot of confusion. On top of that, right now, there's a new policy change. That's just basically cause a lot of confusion. This is where it's important for policymakers to come in and help the public, through roadshows, through comms, engage people like 1865 community to help better understand some of these policy changes and implications, so that they are better informed that things are actually not so bad. For those people who are directly affected, especially those who are 55 years old and above, with a lot of CPF funds in their SA, which they have prepared over their lifetime, I think we need to directly talk to each and every one of them through comms, through mailers, through emails, through one-on-one consultation, either directly with government officers or with the private sector, to help guide them to know that things are not so bad. These are the previous policy. This is the new policy. You are affected in this way. These are the options available for you. You are fine. You are okay. I think it's also important to take note, while we are against a sudden hit on the special account for those who are 55 and above, I'm personally, understandable that the CPF SA shielding needs to be closed, and I think most Singaporeans will kind of accept that this is a loophole that needs to be shut. The one that really needs to reevaluate is that sudden hit on those people who are actually preparing for a lifetime towards a good retirement using a special account. It is some sense more acceptable if they'll be given more time and more options to look at. So in that sense, there's no rush to implement this within the next 10 months. Those people has prepared this over a lifetime, and you give them 10 months, maybe it's too short. Maybe an extension of 1 more year or 2 more years would be very helpful to them. In a nutshell, I'm glad that members of Parliament have spoken up in support of fine-tuning of this policy. We would like to offer ideas to add on to these changes, and hope that the CPF board hear these suggestions and further fine-tune. The CPF policy affects many Singaporeans, if not all Singaporeans, in their retirement. So I wish that subsequent CPF policy change would be better consulted with the public, better fine-tuned in the process, better communicated, so that fellow Singaporeans, whether a small segment to a large segment, when they are impacted in a positive, negative way, have more time and more information to react. So with this, I wish to thank all the 1865 fellow community experts that have helped us to better communicate the impact of these changes. And I look forward to working with the CPF board and the government to facilitate some of these changes, should there be more to come. Thank you, and I'll see you guys in a day or two. Bye-bye.